I come to you today with a heavy heart, with nerd news that should have me over the moon excited, should have me elated, ecstatic, should be like Nerd Christmas in July. And instead, I am just withering away and dying inside because we are experiencing nerd culture in 2024 where nothing is what it used to be. Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idol. And Dark Horse and Wizards of the Coast are officially teaming up for D&D's 50th anniversary. 15 years ago, this would have been the most amazing announcement imaginable. Dark Horse at the top, at their A game. Wizards of the Coast, before they were the monstrous Disney-esque woke demon of a company they are, coming together to do stories based in the worlds of Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons. That is a dream come true. Dark Horse, the ones responsible for the best Star Wars comics that we ever got, teaming up with Magic the Gathering, arguably my biggest nerdy love besides like Dragon Ball Z and Sonic the Hedgehog. And instead we know what Wizards of the Coast is nowadays. We know what D&D is like nowadays. And this is going to be an utter embarrassment. I mean, I like to not judge things before we get to know too much about them. I was very positive about Fallout. I was positive about Furiosa. I was positive about the Ninja Turtles Naruto crossover, despite the race-swapped April O'Neil. But when it comes to Wizards of the Coast, I am so jaded and broken and destroyed on the inside. And because I know there is no going back. We saw the most recent Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering, artwork and endeavors, and it's not even a shell of its former self. It's not even a shadow of its former self, because for there to be a shadow, there's got to be light, and there is no light at the end of the tunnel with modern Wizards of the Coast. So we're going to get into this article. Before we do, hit that subscribe button. I'm a nerdy news channel, and maybe, just maybe, I can survive long enough to not, commit seppuku on this video, because I would like to make it to my birthday stream on Monday. Dark Horse Comics and Wizards of the Coast have announced an exciting brand new publishing program partnership in celebration of Dungeons & Dragons' 50th anniversary. The publishing line will feature comic books and graphic novels that expand the worlds of Dungeons & Dragons and Magic the Gathering. Yeah, this is a horrible idea, an absolutely terrible one, because expanding these worlds is why they are so awful to begin with, because they haven't expanded the worlds. They've expanded them by a bunch of DEI hires and new fat characters and all this acceptance and changing the entire lore of the game, because you don't want to hurt people's fifis, and they're talking about how they use species instead of race, because race is a racist word, and they're retconning old 1980s art to turn the characters into females and try and lie to your face and claim they were always female. With the way Wizards of the Coast has gone down the woke mind virus rabbit hole, which there is no salvaging this. At no point is Dark Horse going to be like, yo, I would like to do sexy ladies with big titties that are being kidnapped by a dragon, and we got some badass barbarian and crew coming in to cast some spells, draw some blood, and at the end of the day hit up a tavern and raise a flagon. Like, that's not what we're going to get. But 15 years ago, that's absolutely what we would have gotten. This is a complete, and don't get me started on Magic the Gathering, because as much as I love Dungeons and Dragons, Magic the Gathering is the top, is the just the ultimate apex of nerdy love for me, and the exact same thing is happening in Magic the Gathering, just to a lesser noticeable extent, because since it's not like a full story driven game to the average individual, since you have to actually get into the deep nitty gritty of the lore, the wokeness aspect isn't nearly as pronounced. However, they do ban cards relatively frequently, because this card turns out that it might have been a bit racist by accident 20 years ago, or hey, we can't use the word tribal on cards anymore, because tribal, well, that's a racist word, so we're gonna change it to typal now. Like, no, it is, but again, they're both Wizards of the Coast. It doesn't really matter. You're seeing the same effect on both of them, so we're not gonna be able to get any good stories when things have been put into such a box that writers don't even have the freedom to explore ideas like they could 15, 20, 30 years ago. Per Dark Horse, the first series in the officially licensed publishing program line, featuring original stories based on the iconic fantasy role-playing and trading card games, will debut in the summer of 2025. So we got a ways out. I'm commenting on this apparently a year in advance. I will say there is one good thing about this. My channel about to get a whole lot of views based on just making anytime there's an announcement about this. I'm sure it will be an egregiously disgusting woke announcement, and you bet your ass I will make a video about how atrocious this is, about how much it slaps in the face to the actual fans of these franchises. Like I can picture it now. The first comic that's announced, the very first comic that's announced is going to be about the great wizard, Aurora, and how it's not really going to be about her because she's straight and white, but no, she's gonna have taken on a new underling to teach the ways of magic, and it's going to be a fat black halfling that's in some sort of non-binary relationship, and honestly, is just immediately gifted at magic. Like, she is so good, but you can't call her she. I'm sorry, it's a they them, and this little they them fat black halfling is so gifted at magic that it blows away even Aurora, and Aurora's like, oh my goodness, I have to take you on as my student, but it doesn't need to be a student. It's already magically perfect at everything because, that's how people write characters nowadays, and it will end up teaching Aurora all the lessons, the things that she's never known in her hundreds of years of studying the ancient tomes and texts. That's the sort of shit I guarantee you we're gonna get. Give it 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, whenever we get the story synopsis of what the first book will be, and bet your ass I am right. Maybe not about that exact scenario, but definitely something along those lines. In addition to comics and graphic novels, the program will include art books and more, with publishers promising more future updates. Dark Horse previously partnered with Wizards of the Coast for Magic the Gathering tie-in comics in the late 90s, some of which are really damn good. I haven't read a lot of them, but the ones I've read are really damn good. With Magic the Gathering, Gerard's Quest, and most recent collaboration being the Stranger Things and Dungeons & Dragons miniseries. Did not read that, could not care less about that, didn't even know that was a thing. Dark Horse senior editor Spencer Cushing is excited about the new partnership with Wizards of the Coast. Yeah, because you're going to get a lot of money for it, because Dark Horse, they're just like all the others in modern comics. They're dwindling. Their money is non-existent, but you got Wizards of the Coast, owned by Papa Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast record-breaking profits thanks to things like the Lord of the Rings Magic the Gathering crossover, which is to this day the largest selling set they've ever had. Oh, I'm sure Dark Horse is very excited to get a chunk of that change. So yeah, it's not going to save the comics industry, but it's going to keep Dark Horse from sweating for just that much longer. They ain't in these IDW straits yet. If you told my 12-year-old self I'd get to work, whoops, sorry about that. If you told my 12-year-old self that I get to work with incredible writers and artists to craft comics for Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering alongside such thoughtful and creative stewards of the license, I wouldn't. They are not stewards of the license. They are the destructors of the license. They have bent the license over and they've given it an iron rusted blade up the asshole. But again, just ask Larry Elmore all about it. I wouldn't have believed you, he said. The opportunity to work with Wizards of the Coast is a dream come true, Spencer added. Fellow Dark Horse, and you know what? Maybe Spencer's being genuine here. Like that'd be the bitch of the bunch, wouldn't it? If homie was being, like, genuine, he grew up loving this shit like I did, like hopefully many of you did, and honestly hasn't been paying enough attention to what's going on with him nowadays, and when he does finally get what he is allowed and not allowed to do from Wizards of the Coast, he gets the list of approved, ideologies, he'd be like, well, this isn't Dungeons and Dragons. Like, I can only imagine the soul-crushing look of defeat upon his face, and then he still has to put out the books, still has to put out the comics. Oh, I would genuinely feel sorry for the dude. I would, but hey, that's what you get for not understanding and staying up to date on modern pop culture. And this is only if I was willing to give someone in modern comments the absolute benefit of the doubt that they are not privy to what is going on in culture right now. And that is a big-ass if. Fellow Dark Horse editor Brett Israel. Wait, we had someone with the last name Ireland in the previous video. Now we got someone with the last name Israel? Wait, how common is it for people to have the last names of countries? Anyway, echoed Spencer's sentiments. Having the opportunity to work with Wizards of the Coast team on both Dungeons & Dragons and Magic the Gathering is one of the most exciting opportunities I've had professionally, he said. As an avid player and fan of if you're a player now, if homie's a player now, then he knows all about the cultural destruction that's happening in the Forgotten Realms. I would also say in Greyhawk, but do they even do shit with Greyhawk anymore? The point is, yeah, I don't trust this dude. If he's an avid player currently, I don't trust him within, like, the distance of a pedophile has to stay away from a school, like that level of distance to any sort of lore book. Stories and planes of those two iconic games. I cannot wait to work with many highly skilled creators on growing these universes, Israel continued. You are not going to be growing anything because you're going to be given a list of things you cannot do, and that list will be longer than Santa's nice list, or maybe his naughty list, depending on how cultural is going right now. And you will be stuck in the most non-creative modern fantasy box that is the definition of generic. It will not be Dungeons and Dragons. I hope you realize that, you dipshit. Hasbro Senior Vice President Marion James discussed the new publishing collaboration with Dark Horse. Dungeons and Dragons Magic the Gathering are two legendary games with incredibly strong fandoms. Yes, we are strong. You've heard how passionately I'm speaking about it in this very damn video. And world-building gameplay, she said. We are dedicated to expanding these universes through unique brand offerings and world-class partnerships, ultimately bringing players and fans new exciting ways to engage with these iconic franchise brands. Oh yeah, you have such faith in Magic the Gathering that instead of making it Magic the Gathering, you're turning it into crossover the card game. Oh yeah, it's not Magic the Gathering anymore. We've got crossovers with Marvel and Square Enix and Fallout and Dungeons and Dragons. That would make sense. They're at least part of the same company. And Godzilla and The Walking Dead and Doctor Who, and the list goes on. You're basically just making like the ultimate Super Smash Bros. Crossover event, but with a card game, which has sucked all the identity out of Magic the Gathering. Yet you want to bring Magic the Gathering back in comics. Oh, because it's got such a strong identity. If it has such a strong identity, then why aren't you doing dick with it now instead of focusing on trying to get all these normies into the game using these crossovers that they don't actually care about and won't stick around to play the game? This video is going to go on forever. I gotta finish this article. From the licensed publishing program with Dark Horse Comics, we anticipate a lot of excitement to come with new artwork and creative storytelling. Magic the Gathering's Vice President of Creative, Jackie Jones, shared that, why is it that all these people at Wizards of the Coast are fucking women? God, how times have changed. I assume Jackie Jones is a female. Jackie's a pretty feminine name. Shared, each series will feature epic, high-stakes stories across Magic's visually stunning, diverse multiverse, and I get they're probably meaning diverse multiverse because literally Magic the Gathering has a slew of multiverses. But anytime one of these motherfuckers says diverse, what are we trained to do nowadays? What are we trained to think? Because it's a goddamn Pavlovian response. Through the eyes of our most iconic, complex, and compelling heroes and anti-heroes, what I wouldn't give for a good Gideon story. I mean, I know Gideon's dead, but that's just What about give us a good Jace story? But you can't give us a good Jace story because Jace is a straight white guy. Dungeons and Dragons Vice President Franchise and Product Jess Lenzilo, seriously, where are the dudes? Believes Dark Horse's ability to bring fantastical worlds to life on the page will make the collaboration truly special. You know what? Fair enough. The art, I'm sure, will at least be top-notch. I'm not even exaggerating. I gotta find something to be positive about. I'm sure the art really will be fantastic. At least Dark Horse has not gone the route of Marvel when it comes to the just disgusting, awful art that does being put in the comics nowadays. Yeah, if you guys couldn't tell, I feel a type of way about this. I got opinions. I mean, I'm used to getting pretty passionate and emboldened on my videos, but when I saw this news today, I knew I'm making a video on this, and unfortunately my Magic the Gathering and D&D videos very rarely perform well, but I don't care. This is catharsis for me. This is like I love talking about video games. I love talking about comic books or whatever, just things I'm passionate about. I am a true blue nerd at the end of the day. I grew up being a nerd. I will never stop being a nerd, but everyone's got that pantheon of the ones that mean the absolute most to them. And Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering are in the upper echelons of my pantheon. And just knowing what has happened to them over the course of the last 10 to 15 years, and just this sharp drop off of a cliff as if, whoever owned the company, Wizards of the Coast in this case, rolled a goddamn nat 1 for the entire business is absolutely heartbreaking to me. And to see that that's going to extend to Dark Horse, one of the most famed third-party comic publishers in the game, like probably the most recognizable name that's not Marvel or DC. It is just worlds and cultures colliding that's going to make such an unimaginable disaster that I will not be able to look away from, because this would have been fucking amazing 15 years ago. And I'm so goddamn tired of where we're at in nerd culture. But those are just my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments down below, or let me know on X where you can find me at Bolt the Word. And please do subscribe. I'm a nerdy news channel. I bring you nerdy news every day. Honestly, yeah, a lot like this stuff. I normally say, you know, about anime, movies, music, Magic the Gathering. This is one of the Magic the Gathering ones, but also D&D and comics. And the point is, you guys know what I cover. Fucking hit that subscribe button. It would mean the world to me. Check me out on Instagram at wordsofparadise_Leon and become a member for $4.99 a month. You can join the Discord, choose the articles I go over on a day-to-day basis, choose the videos I react to on my Friday night live streams, and of course, get involved in the discourse with over 80 other vital idols. We are a bright, beautiful, glowing, vibrant community that I cannot wait to grow further, because we do care about diversity, but only one kind of diversity of thought. So if that's up your alley, join the Discord, hit subscribe, and until next time, it is all here in the Nerdosphere. This has been Words of Paradise.